back to Takedown MMA. This is our second segment following UFC 223. I am Evan Herzog of the Fight Magazine. As always, the man to my right, your left, Albert Rosales of Grinders Fitness. The main event, that's what we're going to talk about. The craziness surrounding it and the outcome. Khabib Nurmagomedov is now the undisputed UFC lightweight champion. Dana White said at the press conference, he has the only belt. I don't believe him. We'll see. He never said that Conor was stripped. He never used those words last night. But regardless of all that, let's get into the fight first and foremost. I know you know this is a big Khabib fan right here, as am I. And I'm actually going to do a little bit of defending of Khabib today. I don't know if you've heard or seen some of the things that I've seen or when listening to the broadcast last night. I don't even know if we're going to agree on the performance or not. So I'm going to let you kind of take it to see where you stand with it. How'd you feel about your boy? You know, he's 26-0 now. This guy is moving into GOAT status, you know. How'd you feel at the end of 25 minutes against who I should say before we get started, all respect, mad love to Raging Al Iaquinta taking that fight. It wasn't necessarily a fight that he just took on 24 hours notice. Right. He was on the card already for a 3-rounder against Paul Felder. And he moved up and filled in the spot because of all the chaos that happened earlier in the week.
Well, I thought Khabib, honestly, I thought Khabib was going to finish him. So we definitely got to give some props to Iaquinta because he really gutted out some of those positions. Khabib's always going to have problems with his stand-up, okay? It's clearly not his strength. I mean, he was landing that jab whenever he threw it last night, but other than that, like, his chin is up very high, you know, he when he leaves the pocket, his head comes up high, he stands tall. When you face a really, really good striker, that's gonna come out. He's gonna have to wrestle even more. So, he's got some holes, but listen, you don't get to 26-0 without being able to disguise your holes. You know what I'm saying, or cover up your holes. Mm-hmm. So he does have some holes. I hear a lot of talk about, people were complaining because he didn't finish Iaquinta, and Iaquinta took this fight on late notice. Well, yeah, he took it on late notice, but guess what? Khabib took it on late notice too. It's not like Khabib had a whole camp to get ready for Iaquinta, and Iaquinta didn't have a camp.
Boy, and Khabib dealt with some stuff this week too. Goodness.
To me, it's all the same. Like you go in there against somebody who maybe you weren't preparing for, and honestly, why would Khabib prepare for Iaquinta? That's a number 11 ranked guy in the division. Like, at no point has that guy's name probably even crossed his mind. No. So it's hard to really look at it. And basically, he's fighting an unknown. And I, as far as I can say, Iaquinta is not fighting an unknown because everybody knows Khabib's at the top. So you watch him, everybody wants to get to what he wants, where he's at.
He eventually was preparing for that fight, regardless as to where. I agree.
He knows who Khabib is. It's the same as with McGregor. Like McGregor taking a fight, if it was reversed, and McGregor was taking a fight against Iaquinta, well, who the fuck is that guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's exactly what he's thinking. He doesn't know anything about Iaquinta, whereas Iaquinta knows everything there is to know about McGregor. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of how you look at it, really, in my mind. But I thought Khabib did well. He fought hard. He really tried to I feel like he tried to push the pace in certain places, and honestly the fight wasn't close at all at any minute. So he did his job, and may not be one of his better showings, but he still did his job. He kind of had the same problems, like if you remember back when he fought Pat Healy. Mm-hmm. Okay, it was kind of the same thing. Pat Healy kind of gave him some problems, but listen, you don't get to 26-0
exactly
by an accident,
and barely getting hit along the way. Yeah. And here's where I don't even think that we saw. I agree that he has some holes, and I think they're smaller than we think, and I think that we've seen them prior. That's been my whole thing all morning. Shout out to my uncle. Sure, he'll check this out. I talk MMA with him more than anybody. He loves Khabib, but he had he had issues this morning. Right when I wake up, I read his text. He's like, he's also a big Conor McGregor fan. And he's like, there were some holes, And I'm like, well, there's complete dominance. And those holes, the strike, he mentioned the head high, the chin high in the pocket, how he exited. My uncle tells a karate guy, I respect his striking as well. So he knows, but these aren't big surprises. These are things we've seen of Khabib. And you mentioned, just to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit, when he faces an elite striker, we just saw him do that, and people already forget what he did to Edson Barboza.
Right.
I mean, I also think that hole in the defense of his striking is smaller than we think as well, because I think he has a chin. Yeah. I think he's never been knocked down. He's never touched the canvas. 26 fights. He ate head kicks from Barboza. Yep. If you remember, he walked through him like a zombie. And Al hit him with some stuff last night.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think we heard his corner talk to him a little bit about, you've shown what you want to show. I think there's a point for him to show, like, hey, which may be to his detriment because he showed his defense hasn't improved that great. But I think he wanted to stand there, give a show a little bit. I think, we saw him shoot that ankle pick a few times. We've seen him take down people in other ways. And I think he kind of, and when he wanted to get the takedown in that final round, he did. And so I want to credit Al. But for all of you people freaking out and thinking that we saw so much of a hole in his striking, that, listen, in my opinion, Al's a great wrestler. Doesn't matter if Conor takes another year off. His wrestling isn't going to get to the level of Al Iaquinta, period.
Right.
And I think, Al did a good job of keeping his post. We see Khabib take that post away all the time, pin that arm, and beat you down until you're done. Al was able to use his wrestling experience to hold his post super strong. Conor's not holding that post.
Right.
Conor maybe makes it out of that first round last night. And so people, calm down. 26-0. I've been the first to ridicule Khabib in the past, but what he did to Al last night, Al knocks people out. Al knocks veterans out. We've seen him do it a lot, and I just think that Khabib makes people look so mediocre, we forget that they're still top 15 opponents. Right. I couldn't have been more impressed last night.
Well, in my mind, I still feel like... Actually, after watching the fight, I kind of feel like Max Holloway could have given him a lot of problems. I feel like that would have been a very close fight. And honestly, I still think in the division, inside the 155-pound division, I still believe Tony Ferguson is the toughest matchup for Khabib style-wise. I think Conor McGregor would get smashed by Khabib. I think a lot of those guys, Khabib just does what he wants to, but I think... with the awkwardness, the way that Ferguson fights, I feel like that's going to create a lot of problems too. But we're never going to see that fight because they just can't seem to get it to work. Four times now they've had to cancel that fight.
What a freak accident. I want to say I've been thinking about Tony Ferguson all week. He's got to, be devastated. And from all accounts that I heard Eddie Bravo on Joe Rogan's podcast the day after the injury speak on Tony wanting to fight. His LCL is completely torn away from the bone, and apparently, I'm not going to act like an expert, but apparently that doesn't happen all the time when the LCL tears. It's not common that it goes all the way. Complete freak accident. Watch where you're walking, folks. The greatest athletes on the planet. We're watching him kick like a metal titanium post. He's all, this is how I condition my shins. And then 5 days later, he goes to say hi on set at UFC Tonight, catches his feet in some wires, tears his LCL, the biggest fight in history. But I agree, man. Tony will allow it. He'll allow Khabib into his guard, and which Khabib doesn't go to the guard. He goes to side control and gets that post and beats you down.
Half guard, side control, and back.
Yeah, but if Tony could get him... But again, I feel like we've been talking about this fight for so long. Dana says it's not going to happen.
I'm sick. I'm
It
I'm
sucks.
sick of them trying to set it up.
I know.
4 times. That's craziness. Like, maybe just let it go, you know?
Yeah, but you're going to have to at some point, unless Khabib,
To me, you know what?
I don't know. It's such a
There's
weird thing.
other matchups out there for
Yeah.
Ferguson, so just go ahead and give him one of the other top names, whether it be Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier. They've got their fight coming up. So
Winner of that one.
maybe the winner of that
Sure.
one, and then if he gets by then maybe you start talking about, okay, maybe we think about Khabib again. But
Poor Tony Ferguson.
hey man,
He had gold
It's
6
the-
days ago, and
it's the way it
he lost
goes.
it to a cord. He lost his gold to a cord, and on that, we're gonna wrap up this segment here on Takedown MMA. Catch us on ibtv.us and Roku. And then Herzog of the Fight Magazine. Albert Gonzalez, Fitness.